قال المؤلف رحمه الله, the author, may God have mercy on him, said, بل دخوله في الوجود بمشيئة الله وقدرته. Rather, things come into existence by Allah's eternal will, power, بتقديره وعلمه الأزلي, with his destining and eternal knowledge. بل دخوله, rather, its entrance into existence. It says things. Let's see the matan up above. Every creation that came into existence, this is what it is. It is every creation that came into existence. Its entrance into existence is by the will of Allah and His power and by His destiny and His eternal knowledge. So they put things in the translation. لِقَوْلِ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى, as signified by the saying of Allah, وَخَلَقَ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ, and He created everything. Surah Al-Furqan, the verse means Allah created everything. I told you they put the name Allah, the verse itself merely carries a pronoun, ضمير mustatir, a veiled pronoun, تقديره who. Its implication is He. أي أحدثه من العدم إلى الوجود. That is, He brought it all. He brought all the creations from non-existence into existence. Same thing in the Arabic, it. أي أحدثه. He made it occur. من العدم إلى الوجود, from non-existence, which is nothingness, to existence, which means it's going to be some volume with qualities. That's what comes into existence. A volume having qualities. فلا خلق بهذا المعنى لغير الله. Creating in the said meaning is attributed to none but Allah. Okay. The Arabic is saying there is no creating with this meaning for other than Allah. قال الله تعالى, Allah said, هل من خالق غير الله. Surah Fatir, not Al-Fatir, just Fatir. The verse means no one is the creator except Allah. And I told you how that's a rhetorical question. Yani, it's really a question. Is there a creator other than Allah? Let me also remind you of something perhaps you heard before. So, you know, the ayah, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. The kaf in kamithlihi is for emphasis. Harf jar zaid. It's an extra genitive particle. للتوكيد, for emphasis. I think you are aware of this, inshallah. It didn't come with its original meaning. So that's clear for you, inshallah. That's here too. هل من خالق غير الله. Min here is like the kaf there. The sign is that if you remove it, the meaning is still there. If you take out min here, it still means, is there a creator other than Allah? If you take out the kaf in the ayah, laysa kamithlihi shay, it still means nothing is like Allah. That's called harf jar zaid lit-tawkeed. An additional prepositional or genitive, an additional genitive particle for emphasis. Some scholars don't like to use the word additional though. They say this is the Quran. We don't want to say something in the Quran is added So they use another word. I don't know now what is. I don't remember. But if you call it extra or added, it's only a terminology. الشرح, the explanation. أن كل ما دخل في الوجود أي وجد بعد أن كان معدوما. The explanation, everything that came into existence. So the Arabic word dakhala means to enter. Everything that entered into existence. This is usually being translated as came into existence, which that's, yani, I think you should go and say it like that in English. Came into existence. أي وجد بعد أن كان معدوما, meaning it became existent after having been non-existent. Yani, could simplify that. أي وجد, meaning it existed. Says it became existent. It existed. بعد أن كان معدوما, after it was non-existent. After having been non-existent. من الأعيان أي الأجسام ونحوها, from among entities, i.e. bodies, and the like. You know what and the like means. It's the atom only, the atom. That's what we said last time. The johar, the atom, not the quality, the atom. Nothing is like a body that exists on its own, but an atom itself, a single atom. We're talking about filling a space, though. Because it's valid to say Allah exists independently. That's what on their own means. Independently. If someone were to say Allah exists on his own, means independently. But what's the difference? He exists without being an entity, with the meaning of volume. The word entity doesn't mean volume. You know that. It's possible to say in English, Allah is an entity. Entity means exists. Well, I don't like to say it, though. When I say it's possible, I mean the meaning of existence is there. But I'm not saying it's permissible to say Allah is an entity. وَمِنَ الْأَعْرَاضِ الَّتِي تَقُومُ بِغَيْرِهَا, and from among the attributes that exist in entities. So what does it say in the Arabic here? And amongst the a'rad, that's translated as attributes here, it is attribute, but I like to use a different word. It's a created attribute. A'rad is the plural of arad. That's a created attribute. That's 100% accurate. But I like to use a different word, or adjusted or qualified word, such as fleeting attribute. But the word fleeting is not necessary, but I like to put the word fleeting there to bring the meaning of the root letters out. Al-a'rad. Why are the created attributes called a'rad? Or why is one of them called an a'rad? A'rad in Arabic language originally means something that does not last. So the meaning is that our attributes, or the creation's attributes, are temporal, subject to change. It's what the philosophers would call an accident. They don't mean mistake. They mean not intrinsic. This meaning that they intend is correct. They talk about this part right here properly. They call it an accident. That's a terminology for them. There's two types of those created attributes. Those that last for 2 moments or more, those that don't last for 2 moments or more. An example of what lasts for 2 moments or more is like knowledge and also color. An example of what does not last for more than a moment, does not last for more than a moment, a single moment, is motion and ability. Uh, does anyone here know what it means to say ability only lasts for a single moment? The answer to that question is yes or no. It's not elaborate. Does anyone know what that means? That ability is an attribute that only lasts for a single moment? Uh, what it means is when you do something, let's say you did the simplest of things, like you held a pencil. So you have an ability to hold this pencil. The ability that you started with is not the same ability in the next moment. And it's not the same ability in the next moment. Each moment has its own ability. And eventually, you might even lose the ability to hold the pencil. Or at least get tired. Say, I want to put this pencil down. I am exhausted from carrying this pencil. And like that, the motion. Meaning, each movement is, each moment has its own movement. Every moment has its own ability. Is what it means because it is maintained? No. Because it is maintained, yani it is, it's like motion. So I guess you might say maintain. Like you maintain motion, but the meaning is that each moment has its own motion. The motion in the one moment is not the same motion in the next moment. The ability is like that. That's clear. Ability is amongst the attributes, amongst the a'rad, amongst the created or fleeting attributes that don't last for 2 moments. Yani, I don't think the word maintain is a bad word there, but not with the meaning that it's like color, not with the meaning that it's like knowledge. How it's different from knowledge? Because you said because you have to retain knowledge and not forget it. Because what I learned is the knowledge that you find in yourself, for example, let's say, you know your name, so you know that today it's the same one, it's the same knowledge from yesterday. That's what I learned. It's not a different one. But you might forget. What if you got amnesia and you forgot your name? And then maybe you'll remember it. So what we learned is that knowledge is amongst the attributes, the fleeting attributes that last for 2 moments or more. Yeah, and it can be. There's different levels of it. Like, for example, you might be in your kitchen and you saw spaghetti noodle in the sink. And let's say you took it out and threw it in the trash. Then khalas, you forgot it for the rest of your life. You didn't never even thought a second time about that spaghetti noodle. It's gone. And color also. Hmm. But I sense that you are not convinced about the ability. I don't really want to go far here, but the scholars, they said, don't you know about the case of istita'ah, ability? There's a chapter in Aqidah. Istita'ah, the ability. So what do they say? Don't they say, al-istita'atu ma'al fi'l? Ability is with the act? Are you aware of that? Ability is simultaneous with the act, does not exist before the action. Okay. So what does that mean? It means you're unable to do something until you do it. You are unable to do something until you do it. So when you do one thing, let's say in one moment, that's an ability. You are not even able to do the other thing before you do it in the very next moment. So when you do something in the next moment, then it has its own ability because you are unable to do something before you do it. Yes. And also, keep in mind what I mentioned for you in the first example. The person became exhausted from holding the pencil. How was that? That's why I wanted to choose something at the extent of ease. I became exhausted from holding a pencil. When did his ability run out for such an easy task? Because it's not the same ability. Doesn't just one ability stay? May Allah have mercy on the Muslim scholars. Ameen. Okay. So it says here in the Arabic, وَمِنَ الْأَعْرَاضِ الَّتِي تَقُومُ بِغَيْرِهَا. And amongst the fleeting qualities, the temporal qualities, I also like to use the word quality for arad, just not to use the word attribute, but it's right. The word attribute is right. So I say Allah has attributes. And then when I talk about the arad, I might say attribute just for clarity, but I like to call it something else, like a quality. وَمِنَ الْأَعْرَاضِ الَّتِي تَقُومُ بِغَيْرِهَا. Those that exist by extension of something else. Those that exist by extension of something else. Says here, the attributes that exist in entities, in meaning it's correct. But it's not really what the Arabic is saying in particular. It is saying, the Arabic is saying, the qualities of the creations exist not by themselves. Not by themselves. This sentence does mean that, but not as clearly. And from among the attributes that exist in entities. So it should say, that exist by other than themselves. That's a different meaning. كالأعمال ما كان منها خيرا وما كان منها شرا. Such as deeds. Yes. Whether good deeds or bad deeds. Yes, Allah created both of those. If He created the entity, and the Mu'tazila agree with that, they agree that Allah created our bodies, then it follows that He created what issues forth from the entity. And that's what the Mu'tazila disagree about. They say Allah created our bodies and gave us the power to create, instilled or installed in us the power to create. And they say what we create is not a creation of Allah. Just like the sun, Allah created the sun, then it follows that He created its rays. He created our bodies, then it follows that He created our actions. والنيات and intentions. والخواطر التي لا نملك منعها and involuntary thoughts. Yes. And the khawatir, those that we do not possess the ability to stop. Khawatir means involuntary thoughts. Involuntary thoughts means you can't stop them unless we wanted to, which we are not able to prevent. Yeah, it's there. Which we are not able to prevent. The khawatir, the involuntary thoughts, which we are not able to prevent. Yani the things that cross your mind. Min antarida, from occurring to us, from crossing our minds. You're not accountable for this. That's how Allah created us, subhanallah. You have deliberate thinking. You have the whispers of the devil. You have the whispers of the self. And you have involuntary thoughts. هو بخلق الله تعالى. It is by Allah creating it. فيدخل في ذلك أعمال العباد الاختيارية وغير الاختيارية. Included in that are the voluntary deeds of the slaves and the involuntary ones. Yes. Involuntary is like what? Inhaling and exhaling, the blinking, heartbeat. But personally, I don't call those deeds. I would call those actions. Here, a'mal means actions. Included in that are the actions of the slaves, voluntary and involuntary. The voluntary action is a deed. That's how I would translate it personally. Involuntary action, it's an action. وخالفت في ذلك المعتزلة. The Mu'tazila disagreed on this issue. أي في أفعال العباد الاختيارية. That is in regards to the voluntary deeds of the slave. فقالت إن العبد هو خالقها. And they said that the slave creates his own voluntary acts. So the Arabic suffices with the pronoun. It would say, and they said that the slave creates it. And they say that the slave creates them. فكفرهم العلماء المحققون. They were deemed as non-Muslims by the scholars. So this sentence in English is lacking. There's an important word here. Al-muhaqqiqun. The meticulous scholars, the exact ones, the precise ones. Yani. Well, maybe it has bad connotation, but meaning that I like in meaning is nitpickers. Those scholars who are nitpickers. Yani, pull it all apart very, very finely. Al-muhaqqiqun, according to them, they deem the people who believe like that as kuffar. They were deemed as non-Muslims by the scholars. This word muhaqqiqun is important because there are those who are regarded as scholars who didn't make takfir on people who believe like this. So this is like an insinuation. As if to say, if there were a scholar who didn't deem these ones as kuffar, then he is sloppy. كأبي منصور البغدادي والإمام البلقيني, such as Abu Mansur al-Baghdadi, author of Al-Farq Bayn al-Firaq, high-ranking Shafi'i mujtahid in the madhab, and Imam al-Bulqini, also mujtahid in the madhab, who is who is among the great scholars of Ashab al-Wujuh, among the Shafi'is. وهو من أكابر أصحاب الوجوه من الشافعية. Both of them are. The Arabic is talking about al-Bulqini. He is one of the mujtahids in the madhab, a junior mujtahid, yani under the Imam, in amongst the Shafi'is. But also Abu Mansur al-Baghdadi is. Both of them are. والإمام أبي الحسن شيث بن إبراهيم المالكي وغيرهم. And Imam Abu al-Hasan Sheith ibn Ibrahim the Maliki and others. وكذبت في ذلك المعتزلة قول الله تعالى. By that, the Mu'tazila belied the saying of Allah, وَخَلَقَ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ. They didn't repeat the meaning here. It is appropriate. This is a person who doesn't know Arabic, doesn't even know the ayah has been repeated because he can't read it. Which means, and he created everything. وَقَوْلَهُ هَلْ مِنْ خَالِقٍ غَيْرُ اللَّهِ, and his saying, which means, is there a creator other than Allah? وَغَيْرَهُمَا مِنَ الْآيَاتِ, and other than these two verses. وَمَعْنَى الْخَلْقِ هُنَا الْإِبْرَازُ مِنَ الْعَدَمِ إِلَى الْوُجُودِ. The meaning of creating here is to bring from non-existence into existence. Yes, raising. Ibraz, making appear. Ilhar. Ibraz means ilhar, making appear. So that means manifesting, bringing forth. So to bring, that's right. To bring from non-existence into existence. وَلَفْظَةُ شَيْءٍ فِي الْآيَةِ الْأُولَى شَامِلَةٌ لِكُلِّ مَا دَخَلَ فِي الْوُجُودِ. And the term shay, thing, in the first verse, so it didn't say what it means here. So that's important. If that's left out deliberately, then I want to think, what would be someone's goal, his good intent in not mentioning the meaning? Could be that he thinks well of the reader and believes that the reader understands these words, so he doesn't have to translate them. But I wouldn't give weight to that. It could be that he fears to put something there. He has an aversion to translating something here, although it was translated before. So that's the part that he already translated the first time. So anyway, and the term shay in the first verse is inclusive of all of what comes into existence. This means this proves that Allah created the actions of the slaves, because the actions of the slaves are shay, something. وَخَلَقَ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ, he created every shay.